Well, we have some important updates. The story used to be about rapid expansion and early warning signs. Now, the picture has shifted in ways that matter to every driver. New high-profile mistakes are still surfacing, including one where police tied an automotive journalist in a press vehicle for days before boxing him in and his wife with multiple cruisers in a parking lot. They believe the car was stolen. At the same time, real pushback is working and dozens of cities and towns have dropped their flock contracts after residents and drivers spoke up. Your voice actually matters. The issue has helped build momentum. But here's the part nobody wants to hear. The cameras aren't disappearing. Other companies are stepping in to take over the contracts and keep the same surveillance model running under new names. And some of these systems are now being pointed directly at entrances to stores that sell firearms and at parks and retail locations. This isn't a story that resolved itself. It's one that's changing form while the core problem remains. Before we continue, I want to remind you to like, subscribe, and click that bell for notifications because there's a lot of news coming fast and furious in the automotive industry. These cameras collect data on millions of vehicles regardless of whether the driver is suspected of a crime. These systems are marketed as indispensable tools to fight crime, but they ignore the powerful tools police already have to track criminals, such as cell phone location data, creating a loophole that doesn't require a warrant. Joel Federer of The Drive was reviewing a Range Rover press vehicle when a flock alert incorrectly identified the manufacturer plate as stolen. The reason you have 4 cops here is because your license plate is registered as stolen license plates in our system. Are you serious? Police tracked the vehicle for days before surrounding him with multiple squad cars in a shopping center parking lot. The error was traced to a data entry mistake combined with license plate recognition error. The flock camera misread the license plate 3410 DTM as 34 DTM, incorrectly flagging it as stolen. A man who bought a used car that was already flagged by flock. Brandon Upperch of Ohio purchased a used pickup truck. A flock camera misread his license plate and incorrectly associated with a stolen vehicle. Police stopped him, arrested him, and the police dog bit him before officers realized he was the lawful owner. He later filed a lawsuit. I hope he wins. J.C. and Carolyn Heron of Tennessee grandparents driving their 3-year-old granddaughter to a doctor's appointment were stopped at gunpoint after a flock alert said their personalized plate Lovey was stolen. The actual stolen vehicle had a nearly identical plate using the number 0 instead of the letter O, and that stolen vehicle had already been recovered, but had never been removed from the hot list. Stephen Melvin of South Carolina was held at gunpoint after a flock camera incorrectly flagged his black BMW as stolen. He filed a lawsuit against York County Sheriff's Office alleging deputies relied on the automated alert without adequate verification. Again, I hope he wins that lawsuit. The Sherwood family of Arkansas, including a 1-month-old baby, was ordered out of their vehicle at gunpoint after a flock camera misread one character on the license plate, generating a false stolen vehicle. Recent misuse has also raised concerns beyond technical errors. In Georgia, at least 10 officers were arrested for using Flock's database for personal searches with the company's new audit tool flagging the activity. The incidents have fueled debate over privacy and Fourth Amendment protections, leading cities like Los Angeles to suspend flock camera contracts over data ownership disputes. This follows the same pattern we've seen before. A single bad entry or AI misread gets amplified across a connected network. The cameras don't just read the plates, they log, make, model, color, and visual details. We've discussed this before. And then they make that information searchable for any participating agency. Police have been told to verify alerts. Yet, the real-world stops show that verification sometimes happens only after the fact. When the input data is imperfect, the output is too. Flock's own materials describe the value coming from the ability to follow vehicles and even people across locations. Publication's 700,000 crimes a year are solved with Flock. Flock Safety Chief Communications Officer Josh Thomas. Reported crimes in America. Yeah. So, there's a lot more that probably are being helped that aren't being reported. But yes, we have about 700,000 crimes that we are aware of that are being solved in part with evidence that's derived from a Flock safety device. In order for that historical data to be of investigative value, you have to track every car for 30 days here. Again, I would challenge you on the word track. Tracking the whole of your movements is very different than knowing that you passed by one specific camera, 24 specific cameras. Those are different things. And then the examples of tracking that vehicle from location to location to location. But Flock's own webinars talk about its license plate reader's ability to track vehicles and people. The expansion into private retail adds another layer. Chains like Academy Sports and Outdoors have installed Flock cameras as virtual perimeters around the stores, with some units aimed straight at the customer entrance. Every car that pulls in is recorded with time and location. These stores sell firearms and hunting supplies alongside everything else. The data makes no distinction between someone buying a cooler and someone buying ammunition or hunting gear. What we're watching is not the end of the surveillance approach. It's a transition. Cities that can let Flock are not removing license plate readers entirely. In most cases, they're replacing them with systems from other vendors, often with slightly different contract language around data sharing or retention periods. The core capability, photographing every vehicle and storing the movement, stays in place. The debate has moved from whether to collect this data on everyone to who gets to run the database under what rules. This directly touches Fourth Amendment protections. The recent Supreme Court decision in Chad versus the United States made clear that the detailed third-party location data carries constitutional weight. Yet, vehicle movement records captured on public roads continue to be collected at scale with far less individualized process than traditional warrants require. When that same data infrastructure gets pointed at retail locations tied to constitutional activities, the questions become sharper. Recent misuse has also raised concerns beyond technical errors. Like I mentioned before, in the state of Georgia, those 10 officers were using the Flock database for personal searches and they were arrested as well as fired, of course. But these incidences have fueled debate over privacy and Fourth Amendment protections. Meanwhile, an independent effort called DeLock is doing the opposite of what the companies want. There's a link down below and it's dflock.org if you want to check it out. It's an open-source project and app that maps known automated license plate reader locations across the country. People are using it to see exactly where the cameras sit in their communities. Some are even changing their routes to avoid them. The transparency is a motivating action. Residents are showing up at meetings with specific addresses and asking hard questions about contracts, data retention, and verification procedures. That public mapping is turning abstract concerns into concrete local accountability, and you can go on and report cameras as well. Flock built a large business selling this capability, but its recent controversies have created an opening. Competitors are moving in to capture the contracts that cities are rebidding. Axon, already deeply embedded with police departments through body cameras and evidence systems, has picked up several of the accounts that are left by Flock. Other established players are also positioning themselves as the Betterhood alternative. Motorola Solutions or Vigilant Solutions operates as one of the oldest and largest nationwide ALPR networks used by state police and local agencies. Recore Systems offers AI-based roadway intelligence. Genetec AutoView is widely used in large municipalities and universities. Elsig, spelled Else-AG, now part of the Leonardo Group, which we talked about last week, is another long-established provider. This is the same company behind Signal Trace, which combines ALPR data with signals from nearby electronic Bluetooth devices. We talked about this. It is tracking and pulling together information from devices, your watch, your AirPods, literally everything to create a dossier on you. And if you never gave permission for them to do this, how are they connecting all this data in your car and from you to put together this information? The money follows the data. Every new contract, whether it stays with Flock or moves to another provider, means more cameras, more stored records, and more reoccurring access fees. Private retailers gain security monitoring at low marginal costs. And law enforcement gains a tool that requires less traditional investigative work. The driver on the road supplies the raw material without compensation or meaningful consent. When one company faces pushback, another simply steps in at the same revenue stream. Now, we talk every week about not overpaying at the dealership or at the pump or on your insurance. But if I told you that you were overpaying on your car insurance by hundreds of dollars a year, you'd fix it today. So why are so many people doing exactly that when it comes to Medicare? When you turn 65 years old, you are required to apply. Most people pick a Medicare plan once and never look at it again. Meanwhile, prices and coverage change every single year, just like model years and cars. What would you do with an extra $1,100? Because that's the average healthcare savings for people who have worked with Chapter to compare all of their Medicare plans. Chapter reviews your current coverage for free and tells you honestly whether you're in the right plan or paying too much. People who work with Chapter save an average of $1,100 on healthcare costs. That's real money back in your pocket. If your current plan is actually your best option, they'll tell you that too. That's honest advice. Call 218-667-429. That's 2,186,667,429. Also, check out askchapter.com/carcoachreports. The link will be down below. Now, to grasp the scale of these traffic tracking cameras, here's some breaking news. FedEx has partnered with Flock Safety. The company has added automated license plate recognition and video surveillance to its operations and already works with a network of around 40,000 cameras spanning 4,000 cities across 40 states. FedEx has more than 87,000 vehicles in its express and ground fleets, and the technology is now broadly deployed across its U.S. operations. FedEx has agreed to share its Flock surveillance feeds with law enforcement, and Flock is believed to be one of 4 multi-billion-dollar private companies with this arrangement. This has gone far beyond street corner cameras and into corporate fleets. If you drive regularly, this network already has pieces of your movement history in more places than it did last time we covered this. The inaccuracies mean that a data error can turn a normal day into a high-stress police encounter. The expansion into retail and public spaces means records are now being created at locations where people exercise everyday rights everywhere you shop, park, and play. The Fourth Amendment protects you from unreasonable searches. That protection is being tested by rolling databases that do not require individualized suspicion to populate. The fact that the cities are swapping vendors rather than ending the practice shows the infrastructure is becoming normalized. DFlock's mapping work is important precisely because it lets ordinary drivers see the scale in their own area and decide whether they're comfortable with it. The CEO of Flock has gone so far as to call people who report camera locations to DLOC as terroristic and worse than Antifa. And then unfortunately there's terroristic organizations like DLOC whose primary motivation is chaos. They are closer to Antifa than they are anything else. And that I think is unfortunate because we don't want chaos, or I don't want chaos. That kind of reaction tells you how seriously some in the industry take public scrutiny. And if you want to hear more about that, you can watch my breakdown right here. This isn't about one company. It's about whether comprehensive vehicle tracking on public roads becomes a permanent background feature of driving in America. With the data accessible to multiple agencies and in some cases, private partners, the pushback is already producing concrete results in cities across the country. Los Angeles is letting its 3-year contract with Flock expire without renewal, with officials openly citing concerns over mass surveillance and collection of data on regular Americans who have done nothing wrong. Even in a deep blue city, the department is stepping away from the level of constant tracking. In Evanston, Illinois, the city not only ended its contract, but ordered every Flock camera removed after a state audit found the company had been illegally sharing Illinois data with federal agencies. South Portland, Maine, has already had its own cameras taken down following strong community opposition over its privacy and constitutional issues, and Flock confirmed the account is closed. Westland, Michigan is removing its 10 cameras when the current contract ends at the end of the month after residents and divided city leaders raised serious concerns about data access and the technology role in everyday policing. Other communities have taken similar steps with varying degrees of follow-through. Denver chose not to renew and moved to a different provider with stricter limits on federal data sharing and shorter retention periods. Nearby Longmont and Fort Collins also dropped Flock after council reviews directed that data collection stop and cameras be removed. In Washington state, Olympia has taken its cameras offline with no replacement announced. Well, Mount Lake Terrace canceled plans before any cameras were even installed. Edmonds, Washington canceled its contract and is still evaluating options. Mountain View, California ended its pilot program and shut the cameras off while it rethinks the entire policy. Austin, Texas ended its direct relationship with Flock. The police later continued accessing similar data through its partner agencies. A workaround that shows how the underlying surveillance capability can persist even when one vendor is shown out the door. So far, 86 towns and cities have canceled or declined to renew Flock contracts. That number matters because it proves the pressure works when people show up and ask direct questions. At the same time, many of these places are not walking away from automatic license plate readers entirely. They're often replacing Flock with another vendor, which means the cameras in the data collection continue, but under new management. The fight isn't over just because one company loses a contract. It's about whether communities keep demanding real limits on how the data is gathered, stored, and shared, or whether they simply accept a different company running the same system. The progress so far has come from sustained local pressure. That's you. Not from hoping the technology disappears on its own, because it won't. Dozens of communities have already forced contract cancellations or removals by attending council meetings, filing records requests, and highlighting specific problems with accuracy and oversight. Your previous engagement on this topic has helped build the momentum. Don't give up now. DEF gives drivers a practical next step. The app and website lets you see mapped camera locations near you and contribute new sightings. That information turns, "I heard there are cameras somewhere," into "Here are the exact poles in our town, and let's talk about the contract." People are using these maps to show up prepared and ask direct questions about data retention, warrant requirements for historical searches, and whether private companies have access. Contact your local officials with specifics. Ask whether they plan to keep automatic license plate readers at all, and if so, what rules will govern verification of alerts and access to stored data. Support state-level legislation that requires warrants for historical queries and limits sharing with private entities. Back those lawsuits from people who have been wrongly stopped. These cases are already moving through the system and creating a precedence. The pattern is clear. When enough residents treat this as a local issue worth their time, contracts get reviewed and sometimes ended. DFlock is making it easier to see the cameras and harder for officials to claim they don't know the scale. Keep using your voice on this. The companies and agencies are adapting. The only real counter is consistent informed pressure that treats accuracy, verification, and constitutional limits as non-negotiable. The bigger question isn't whether some crimes have been solved with this technology. It's whether we're willing to accept an always-on error-prone record of every law-abiding driver's movements as the default condition of using public roads, and whether swapping one company for another while the database keeps growing actually solves anything, because it doesn't. The question is still open, and right now it's being decided one city contract and one map camera at a time. Don't give up. We need your support. Get out there and let them know what you think. And your voice matters. We've previously discussed flock cameras, which capture images of every vehicle passing by, tracking your locations for 30 days. Now, we have crucial updates to share. Initially, our focus was on rapid growth and warning signs. However, the narrative has evolved significantly, impacting every driver's experience. Recently, unsettling incidents have come to light. One involved police pursuing an automotive journalist in a press vehicle. They wrongly believed his car was stolen and boxed him in with multiple cruisers. Amid this chaos, communities are fighting back. Numerous cities and towns are severing ties with Flock due to public outcry. Your voice truly matters in this discussion. This movement has gained traction, but here's the catch: the cameras won't fade away. Instead, other companies are stepping in to take over the contracts, perpetuating the same surveillance model. These systems are now even focused on entrances of firearm stores, parks, and shopping spots. This situation is ongoing, evolving, while the root problem persists. Before we delve deeper, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for the latest automotive industry news. These cameras gather data on millions, even if drivers aren't suspected of crimes. Though marketed as crime-fighting tools, they overshadow existing police capabilities, like cell phone tracking data, which can be accessed without a warrant. Joel Federer from The Drive experienced a mishap with a flock alert while reviewing a Range Rover. He found himself surrounded by 4 police officers, falsely accused of driving a stolen vehicle. The license plate mix-up was due to a data entry error. His license plate, 3410 DTM, was misread as 34 DTM. Brandon Upperge in Ohio faced similar issues after purchasing a used pickup. A flock camera misidentified his plate as stolen, leading to his arrest and a police dog biting him before his ownership was confirmed. He subsequently filed a lawsuit, and I sincerely hope he receives justice. In Tennessee, JC and Carolyn Herron were stopped at gunpoint, falsely flagged by a flock alert, claiming their personalized plate, Lovey, was stolen. The actual stolen vehicle had a nearly identical plate with a 0 instead of an O. It had also been recovered but wasn't removed from the list. Then there's Stephen Melvin in South Carolina. He was held at gunpoint after a flock camera incorrectly tagged his black BMW as stolen. He too filed a lawsuit against the York County Sheriff's Office, claiming reliance on faulty automated alerts without proper checks. I truly hope he finds success with that case. The Sherwood family in Arkansas, including a 1-month-old baby, was ordered out of their vehicle at gunpoint due to a flock camera misreading a single character in their license plate. Recent misuses have sparked concerns beyond mere technical errors. In Georgia, at least 10 officers faced arrest for personal searches using Flock's database, revealed by their new audit tool. These incidents have ignited discussions on privacy and Fourth Amendment rights, causing cities like Los Angeles to suspend Flock contracts over data ownership disputes. This mirrors a familiar issue. A solitary bad entry or AI misread spreads across a connected network. These cameras read not only license plates but record vehicle details and make that information available to participating agencies. Law enforcement has been instructed to verify alerts, but real-life incidents reveal that checks often occur only after an event. Flawed input leads to flawed output. Flock's materials boast about the ability to follow vehicles and people across locations. Publications claim that 700,000 crimes are solved yearly thanks to Flock. Josh Thomas, Flock's safety chief, noted that more crimes might be helped without being reported. For this historical data to have investigative value, every car must be tracked for 30 days. But there's a crucial distinction. Tracking your entire movements is not the same as noting passage by specific cameras. Flock webinars emphasize their license plate readers' ability to monitor moving vehicles and people. The shift into private retail adds complexity. Chains like Academy Sports and Outdoors have installed Flock cameras to create virtual store perimeters. Every vehicle entering the lot is recorded with time and location. These stores sell firearms alongside many products. The collected data cannot differentiate between innocent purchases and those tied to hunting gear. What we're witnessing is not an end to surveillance but a transformation. Cities terminating their contracts with Flock aren't removing license plate readers altogether. Most replace them with different systems that maintain similar capabilities related to data sharing or retention. The core function of photographing every vehicle remains intact. The debate has shifted from whether to collect data to who manages the database and under what conditions. This directly impacts Fourth Amendment rights. The recent Supreme Court ruling in Carpenter v. United States clarified the constitutional implications of detailed third-party location data. However, widespread vehicle movement tracking continues without the rigorous processes required for traditional warrants. As this data infrastructure focuses on retail tied to constitutional activities, the questions sharpen. Misuse beyond technical failures has raised alarms. As I previously mentioned, those 10 Georgia officers misused the Flock database for personal gains, leading to arrests and firings. Such incidents intensify privacy and Fourth Amendment debates. Meanwhile, an independent effort called DFlock stands in stark contrast to these companies. This open-source project maps existing automated license plate reader locations across the country. Many use it to identify camera locations in their neighborhoods, altering routes to avoid them. This transparency empowers residents. They're attending meetings with specific addresses, demanding clarity on contracts, data retention, and verification processes. This public mapping transforms vague concerns into tangible community accountability, allowing residents to report cameras as well. Flock built a significant enterprise around this technology, but recent controversies have created openings. Competitors are stepping up to secure the contracts rebid by cities. Axon, heavily integrated with police departments through body cameras, has taken on several Flock accounts. Other established players position themselves as appealing alternatives. Motorola Solutions and Vigilant Solutions operate as long-standing national ALPR networks, utilized by state police and local agencies. Recor Systems provides an AI-driven roadway intelligence solution. Genetec AutoView serves numerous large municipalities and universities. Elsig, now part of the Leonardo Group, is another reputed provider. This strong company powers Signal Trace, merging ALPR data with nearby electronic signals. We've discussed this before. They're pulling data from your watch, AirPods, and various devices to compile dossiers on individuals. If you haven't consented to this, how do they connect your vehicle data and personal information? Money trails the data. Each contract, whether it remains with Flock or transfers to another provider, equates to more cameras, more records, and recurring access fees. Private retailers secure monitoring at minimal costs, while law enforcement benefits from reduced investigative efforts. Drivers supply the raw data without compensation or informed consent. When one company faces backlash, another readily fills the gap, maintaining the revenue stream. Each week, we discuss ways to avoid overpaying at dealerships, the pump, or on insurance. But consider this. If I told you that you might be overpaying for Medicare by hundreds yearly, wouldn't you address the issue today? Sadly, many continue to make the same mistake with Medicare. At 65, you must apply. Most select a plan and never reassess it. Yet, prices and coverage shift annually, much like car models. Imagine what you could do with an extra $1,100. That's the average savings for individuals who collaborate with Chapter to review their Medicare plans. Chapter evaluates your current coverage for free, offering impartial advice on whether you're in the right plan or overspending. Collaborators enjoy an average savings of $1,100 on healthcare costs. If your current plan is indeed the best option, Chapter will let you know. That's genuine guidance. Call 218-667-429 or visit askchapter.com/carcoachreports. The link's below. Now, to understand the enormity of these traffic tracking cameras, here's breaking news. FedEx has teamed up with Flock Safety. The company integrated automated license plate recognition and video surveillance into its operations, utilizing approximately 40,000 cameras across 4,000 cities in 40 states. FedEx's massive fleet of over 87,000 vehicles employs this technology nationwide. They've consented to share their Flock surveillance feeds with law enforcement, and it's believed this arrangement is one of 4 multi-billion-dollar agreements. This situation extends far beyond street corner cameras, reaching into corporate fleets. If you drive frequently, this network now tracks portions of your movement history in more places than before. Inaccuracies allow data errors to turn ordinary days into stressful encounters with police. The expansion into public and retail areas means records are created wherever people exercise fundamental rights, while shopping, parking, or enjoying leisure activities. The Fourth Amendment safeguards against unreasonable searches, yet this protection is challenged by expanding databases that don't require individualized suspicion. The fact cities are switching vendors rather than halting such practices indicates normalization of this infrastructure. DFlock's mapping effort is crucial, enabling drivers to see the scope of cameras in their communities, assessing their comfort levels with surveillance. The CEO of Flock labeled DFlock camera location reporters as terroristic, comparing them to Antifa. He expressed concern over the chaos they might bring, which is unfortunate as it highlights industry perceptions on public scrutiny. If you're interested in this perspective, check out my breakdown right here. This situation isn't merely about one company. It revolves around the future of comprehensive vehicle tracking on public roads and its potential permanence in American driving. With multiple agencies accessing this data, the pushback already leads to tangible changes in cities across the nation. Los Angeles has decided to let its 3-year contract with Flock expire, with officials voicing concerns about mass surveillance of innocents. In a traditionally progressive city, the department is stepping back from persistent monitoring. In Evanston, Illinois, the city ended its contract and ordered all cameras removed after an audit found illegal data sharing with federal agencies. South Portland, Maine, followed suit after public opposition regarding privacy issues, leading to their cameras being taken down. Westland, Michigan will remove its 10 cameras once the current contract expires, responding to local concerns over data access and technology roles in policing. Other communities are doing the same with varying levels of engagement. Denver opted not to renew its contract and switched to a provider offering stricter federal data sharing limits. Nearby towns like Longmont and Fort Collins dropped Flock following council reviews that demanded the halt of data collection and camera removals. Olympia in Washington state has offline cameras with no replacement plan in sight. Mount Lake Terrace scrapped plans before installation even occurred. Edmonds, Washington, has paused its contract while evaluating alternatives. Mountain View, California ended its pilot program and switched off cameras while reconsidering its policies. Austin, Texas cut direct ties with Flock, but police still access similar data via partner agencies, a workaround demonstrating that surveillance can continue even when one vendor exits. To date, 86 towns and cities have canceled or opted against renewing their Flock agreements. This number is significant, proving that public pressure impacts contracts. However, many communities aren't abandoning automatic license plate readers altogether. Often, they're simply switching to other vendors, allowing data collection to persist under different management. The struggle is far from over just because one company loses a contract. It's essential that communities demand strict limits on how data is gathered, stored, and shared instead of accepting a different company continuing the same practices. The current progress stems from sustained community effort, your effort. It's not about hoping this technology fades away because it won't. Numerous communities have already succeeded in forcing contract cancellations or removals by engaging with city meetings, filing record requests, and spotlighting inaccuracies. Your involvement has helped build momentum. Don't stop now. The DFlock project empowers you with practical next steps. The app and website showcase nearby camera locations and allow you to contribute sightings. This transforms abstract discussions into actionable conversations about contracts. Community members use these resources to prepare and pose pointed questions about data retention and access regulations. Contact local representatives with specific inquiries concerning their intentions regarding automatic license plate readers, or advocate for state legislation mandating warrants for historical searches. Support legal actions from individuals who were wrongfully detained. These cases are already making waves and establishing precedents. The pattern is evident. When enough residents treat this as a relevant local issue, contracts get scrutinized and, at times, terminated. DFlock simplifies locating cameras and ensures officials can't claim ignorance about the situation's scale. Keep raising your voice on this matter. The companies are evolving, but only persistent, informed public pressure can ensure accuracy, verification, and constitutional boundaries are upheld. Ultimately, the key question isn't whether technology has solved some crimes. It's whether we'll accept a flawed surveillance system tracking every law-abiding driver as an accepted norm or allow a simple vendor change to solve anything. This ongoing conversation remains active and is shifting one city and one camera at a time. Keep rallying for change. Your support is critical. Get involved and make your opinions heard. Remember, your voice truly matters.